30 minutes prior to Aim's attack, Vincent walked into the room and stared at the scroll. The Akashic record stood before him, and the moment that he looked at it, he felt a pressure inside of his skull. But the closer he walked to it, the stronger it got. Eventually, he opened the scroll up, and inside there were two purple gears. Upon looking at them, he knew all he had to do was start by spinning the gears just a little bit. So that's precisely what he did. When he spun the gears, the energy within them burned into his skull, and he faded into nothingness. He floated in the darkness for a few seconds before the purple gears appeared in front of him. And as they spun, everything came into focus. All knowledge, every single detail of everything poured through his skull. But at such a rate, it was almost impossible to keep anything. He had experienced this once before. He had used the Akashic records for only about 30 seconds. Of course, that 30 seconds felt like a year. The way that this works is that it's so overloading that you don't even know any sense of time. He needed to focus on what the smiling man was. So he thought about the smiling man, and then he floated through the air, or everything came flying by him. It was hard to tell. Suddenly, thousands of books flew by him, and he could see that he was heading towards a specific spot in this gigantic library. Upon reaching it, there it was. A book fell out into his hand, and he began to open it. But the pressure inside of his skull was so hard, he was going to have to stop soon. And then he opened it, looked inside, and then he immediately fell away from the scroll. He fell to the ground, panting, sweating, taking several deep breaths to calm himself down. He wrote down the information. It said it was a Shoggoth. And even just getting a mere glimpse of what a Shoggoth was enough to pull him out of the scroll. This information was dangerous and powerful. So he took a couple deep breaths, and the guard near the room popped in with a cup of water. What did you see? Shoggoth. That's what he was. It was. That explains why he melted into tar when I killed him. We're dealing with things from beyond. At least one. I'm gonna go back in. That's not how this works. You only go in once, and then you have to wait. I'm not going to wait. I am going to go back in. I needed to know who's behind all of this. I'm gonna have to search for it. Vince, most people can't handle going in more than one time a week. You could die. Or I could find out what's been behind all these things that have been happening lately. I don't think that's going to be good for you. I have to try. I'm going back in. Vincent finished his water and then walked back up to the scroll, spun the gears again, and immediately blacked out. Floating there in the darkness again, he started trying to look into what was behind everything. So he thought about yellow. The one key thing that any witness said was yellow. What was it? Information about things that were in yellow started pouring through his mind. And then he came across one thing, and he had to stop. Because he knew it was something involving beyond. The place beyond, the little information people knew, was that this is the place where the most bizarre, disgusting monsters came from. Where most gods, demons, and things were all part of the human realm. Beyond were things from outside. These things only wanted to destroy. Vile, horrible monsters. Shoggoths and their leaders. Images floated into his brain. Painful. He started screaming. He had to stop. Whatever it was, it didn't want to be found out about. And he screamed harder. He wanted to find out who was behind all of this. But it seemed like even with the records, it didn't want him to find out. And trying to pressure it even harder only made the pain increase. So he had to stop again, and he dropped to the floor. Covered in sweat, his nose was bleeding. And then he was back standing up again. If I can't see whatever it is, and now I know at least it's from the beyond. He took several more deep breaths, calming himself down. He needed to go back in one more time. There was one other thing he could research. But then he heard the boom. What was that? The guard turned and looked at him. I don't know. Pulled out a gun. Whatever it is, it's coming this way. Get ready.